Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Renton Reflects. Today I'm going to talk about a superhero movie that to this day has never seen an official release. Reportedly, the only reason this movie was made was to quickly fulfill a contractual obligation. You see, around the time this movie was made, the filming rights to the Fantastic Four characters were owned by a German film company, and their filming rights were about to expire. And so, with the help of American B-movie filmmaker Roger Corman, they hastily put together a Fantastic Four movie on a budget between $1 million and $2 million, and shot in about 3 or 4 weeks. Some sources claim that there were plans to have an actual theatrical release. Others say that it wasn't meant to be seen by anyone at all. Either way, bootleg copies ended up on the comic book convention circuit, and eventually, the movie had made its way onto the internet. So, is there anything noteworthy in this movie worth checking out? Well, the way I see it, yes. But first, the story. Much like the 2005 and the 2015 film versions, this version is an origin story, explaining how the Fantastic Four heroes and the villainous Dr. Doom came to be. In addition to that, there are a couple of other subplots thrown into the mix, such as the involvement of a street criminal known as the Jeweler. As our heroes discover and learn more about their new superpowers, they soon find out about Dr. Doom's evil plans and must work together to stop him in order to save the world. Seeing how this movie was produced on a limited budget and production schedule, one might not exactly expect it to be an outstanding masterpiece. There are a few choices in the editing that are a little clumsy, much of the special effects are rather crude, and while the story's concept seems fine on paper, it still has its weak execution in some spots in terms of translation onto celluloid. I've never read the original comic books, so I can't say for sure if this version followed the comics well enough. But I will say this, it did what it could to at least capture the spirit and the heart of the comics. Also, this version is not without its positives. When the musical score isn't very cheesy, it can actually be kind of nice to listen to at times. I also ought to give it credit for having perhaps the most faithful interpretation of Dr. Doom as a character. Although, half the time you can't easily understand what he says due to the mask that he wears, but he does make up for it with his dramatic gestures. The other film versions of the Fantastic Four may have had bigger budgets and therefore better production values, but for this version, you can't help but feel that bit of sincerity from both the cast and the crew, as it seems that they did their best with what they had, which does add a little bit of extra charm to it. What also makes this version interesting is imagining what it could have been like had it gotten a proper release. Personally, I feel that given the scope and the direction that it went with, it probably would have worked a little better as either a TV movie or as a simple direct-to-video release, rather than for theaters. But that's just me. If extremely rare pieces of media are your kind of thing, especially if they involve famous superheroes, then this movie's definitely for you. If I were to rate the film on a scale between 1 and 10, I probably would give it a 3.5. While I don't see it as very good, it's still rather interesting when you consider the history behind it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes my review. Thanks for watching and have a fantastic day.